quite busy, and he's been endorsed already by Doug LaMalfa and Senator Nielsen, Sean Morgan. So a lot of people think very highly of him. And one of the things that I'm really intrigued with about him is he actually was able to reform the pensions in Sutter County, which we really need to have that done here. So I'm happy to present James Gallagher.
All right, well, thank you for having me. Just a quick geography lesson. So I'm from Sutter County, and Yuba City is our county seat. And across the river is Marysville, which is in Yuba County. I know it makes no sense, but it's what us Southlanders do to just kind of keep you guys on your toes a little bit. Well, thank you for having me. I want to thank first the Republican women and the job that you guys do, especially with educating our youth on our Republican values. I know our Yuba Sutter Republican Women Federated, they take a group down to the Capitol, and as I understand your group does too, and try to go into the schools and make sure that our kids understand our constitutional values, our government, our civics education. So thank you for all the work that you guys do. Thank you for all the volunteer work that you do on behalf of Republican candidates throughout the state. I've been the beneficiary of that when I was elected to the County Board of Supervisors. And I've been in your shoes as well, because I've served on the Sutter County Central Committee, been involved in a lot of grassroots Republican politics ever since I was a little kid. And that's what it takes. It takes boots on the ground. It takes people going and knocking doors, telling their neighbors and friends. It takes, making those phone calls, calling people up, and sometimes you get hung up on, sometimes people get mad at you, but you just keep on going to the next one. So thank you for all that you do, because we would not be able to be successful without the work of volunteers. So as I said, a little bit about me. My name is James Gallagher. I live in Yuba City, California, with my wife Jana of 10 years, and we have 3 young children. I'm an attorney, and we focus primarily on business contracts and estate planning. A lot of our clients are small business, farmers and ranchers throughout the Sacramento Valley region. And really what we do is we try to solve problems for our clients. They come to us with issues and trying to structure their business, or they run into problems with regulatory agencies, usually the United States Department of Agriculture or the NRCS, and dealing with wetlands issues or things like that. And so we help them and have fought on their behalf. I enjoy doing that. And then for the past 5 years now, excuse me, I've been serving on the Sutter County Board of Supervisors. And some of the things that I've been able to work on there, I've been proud to work on, is that we were able to lead the charge in instituting pension reform in Sutter County. I've been a champion for reducing fees and streamlining government there. Just this last year, we were able to actually merge 2 departments that really needed it, and allowed us to be much more efficient, actually save the taxpayers over $500,000 by making that move just in this budget year. I've been a champion of water rights and property rights in our county. I believe that people should have the right to do with their property what they choose. I know it's a novel concept, isn't it? And of water rights. We've had regulations that have tried to come down to regulate our water rights up in our counties and throughout the region. And I've been a big champion of protecting those property rights for landowners and the people that own the water. And I've been a champion of reforming our zoning code to make it better for business. So many times we get these antiquated zoning codes that provide all these restrictions, and really it's about common sense, allowing people to run their businesses and do on their property so that everybody prospers. When they prosper, the rest of us prosper. We notice that more tax dollars come into the county coffers when business is doing well, and that's a concept I think our state obviously could take up. And also, I've been the chair of the Sutter Butte Flood Control Agency. something I've worked on for the past 6 years, even before I was on the board, is trying to bring levee improvements to our Butte and Sutter County areas. And the reason why that is so vital, as maybe some of you know, is without that, we get mapped into what's called the FEMA floodplain. And if you don't know what that is, just know this: you don't want to be in it, okay? Because it means that your insurance rates are going to, triple, in some cases quadruple, and your ability to build just about anything is very well diminished. So with this levee project, it's going to help take a large portion of Sutter County out of the floodplain and take Butte County out of the floodplain. And we were able to get that project just started here the last month. It's been a lot of work working through all these different federal and state bureaucracies, but I'm really proud of the work that we've been able to do there, and we're getting it done. There's dirt moving out on those levees, and so I'm very proud of that. And so, now I've decided to go on, and I want to run for the state assembly, and that's the 3rd Assembly District, and that district includes the counties of Yuba, Sutter, Butte, Colusa, Glenn, and Tehama counties. So a 6-county region, the heartland of the Sacramento Valley, northern Sacramento Valley, and of course, in my humble opinion, the best district in the state of California. But I certainly get the question every time that when I talk to people, I say, well, what are you going to be able to do going down to Sacramento? Now we're in the super minority, our Republican Party, and how are we going to be able to get things done down there? Well, first, by the way, we aren't quite in the super minority yet. Okay, in the Senate, we actually had a victory down there that kept the Senate, the Democrats, from being a super majority, the 2/3 in the Senate. And because of some musical chairs that have gone on down in Los Angeles, the Assembly actually doesn't have a supermajority yet either. We got to do some work to make sure that stays put. But at any rate, people say, hey, what are you going to be able to do? How are you going to be able to go down there? And one of the things I tell them is, hey, I've been there before. Because I went to a little place called UC Berkeley as a young undergrad. And if you think it's dark in Sacramento, let me tell you, Berkeley is a lot darker than that. They have a city council down there that declared all of the airspace a nuclear-free zone above them, and that no one can invade their airspace above the city of Berkeley. Well, I think it happens all the time, and there's nothing they can do about it. But their city council believes that somehow they're superior in a lot of different ways. But when I went down to Berkeley, I was a conservative raised here in South Sutter County. Believed in limited government, freedom, believed in family values, and I took that down there with me. And my parent, I actually almost didn't go. It's just a quick story. My dad, I had made a decision. Well, I don't know if I want to go down there because I didn't have a lot of friends wasn't a lot of people from East Nicholas going to UC Berkeley. And I said, well, I think I'm just going to go to community college and then, play some baseball. I was really into baseball at that time. And then we'll go on about it. Well, I put in the mail my rejection letter that I wasn't going to come. My dad actually went down to the post office box, got it out, and the next morning he said, hey, James, we need to think about this a little bit more. I said, I think you need to go down there because you know what? They need to hear what people up here think, And you need to take that down there, and so I did. When I got down to Berkeley, I went to my first Berkeley College Republicans meeting. All 5 of us. But we were a scrappy group, and by the time I graduated, we had a 300-member strong college And what we did there is, even though Berkeley is known for being a very liberal place, most of the students we found were very indifferent. They just didn't think about politics. They were there to get an education. Maybe their family hadn't really ever talked to them about politics very much. So we found that a lot of the students were indifferent. When we got together and we said, well, hey, how can we get people interested? How can we get people attuned? Well, we had some parties because that's what college students do. And we got some of the students to come out and get interested in politics. Then we started inviting speakers to campus. We brought Ward Connerly, who's the author of the Stopping Affirmative Action here in California. bought a guy named David Horowitz, who you might have heard of. Wrote the book Radical Son. But we got people thinking, we got people talking about these issues, and pretty soon we saw our numbers start to swell, we saw our numbers start to grow, because students were saying, you know what, that's not right. If you earn something, you should be able to keep it, right? The government shouldn't be able to take it from you, right? Now, hey, if you bought a piece of property, hey, shouldn't you have the rights associated with that property? Yeah. And these principles of freedom and liberty won over a lot of people in UC Berkeley, and we saw that, and we saw the success. My senior year, we actually held the College Republicans convention at Berkeley. We held it down, and we marched down Telegraph Avenue. I think it was the first conservative march down Telegraph Avenue there's ever been. But that just goes to say that the same thing that we did there, we can do in California. I have not given up on California by any means, and I don't think any of us should. We need to work hard, and we can get it done. And I think a big part of what we need to do is we need to spread and focus our resources throughout the state. And we had a great example of how we can do that with the election of Andy Vidak to the state Senate. That was that key Senate race that I just spoke of down in the Central Valley. It was controlled by a Democrat. We ended up winning that race. And you know how we did it? Well, one, they were very active down there, and the party was very focused on it. But people from all over the state, Republicans from all over the state, helped in that fight. And I see Ariana back there, the Butte Young Republicans. I think they sent 30 people down there to walk. 30 young people that went down there and walked precincts on behalf of this candidate. We had people calling from all over the state, making phone calls. And we ended up picking up that seat because we didn't just focus on our own areas. We said, hey, this is part of a bigger picture. This is a state that we got to get back, and we won that seat. We can replicate that, throughout the state. And I think that's a big part of what our party needs to do, because long term, unless we elect more Republicans and more liberty-minded folks to the state legislature, we're not going to be able to accomplish what we need to do. In the meantime, what I want to focus on, and I think we can get some legislative victories out of Sacramento. We can. The big issues that I think we need to focus on, one is regulation. Regulation is the biggest thing holding back business, holding back our economy in this state. And I think more and more people are starting to realize it. They're waking up to that fact. Just a couple examples. We have up in Siskiyou County, people who've been able to divert their water rights from the streams up there. Fish and Game came in and said, well, we think that you need a stream bed alteration permit for that. And we'll let you use that water that's yours, but you got to pay us $50,000 for that permit, right? What is that? That's extortion. That's pure and blatant extortion is what it is. We have our diesel engines, that run our pumps out in our fields, that run our trucks up and down this great state that moves all of our goods. With these regulations, if you've got a truck before 2007, you're going to have to get rid of it. Yeah, and so we're telling these small, and some of these people are just single operators. They only have one truck, but this is their living, right? And they're being told, well, you're going to have to get rid of that truck, buy a new one. Well, what if you don't have the money? You're out of business, and a lot of people are. And that's going to shut down our vital economy. It's going to put people out of jobs. And what does that do for people? Then we have more people relying on public assistance, like we don't have enough already, right? And this state was the golden state. Now it's the broke state, right? We can be great again. We can. And what are we number one in right now? We're number one. We have the highest corporate tax rate. We have the most regulations. And what's the answer? The answer is we gotta get rid of those regulations. We gotta make our tax structure more equalized and fair for all businesses, for our people. And what I would like to see done, and I think it can be done, is we need a moratorium on all new regulations, and then come back and let's go to our existing ones and streamline them. And all these California Air Resources Board regulations, bring them back to the legislature for a vote today. And that's for two reasons. One is in principle. All laws should be passed by the legislature, not by unaccountable bureaucrats. They get to just put out get to promulgate regulations here and there. No, the buck stops in the legislature, and I think we can put the pressure on people down there in Sacramento to say, look, this is our job. We're supposed to legislate. Bring this back and bring it for a vote. And the second part is, I bet you that vote's going to be a heck of a lot different when a Central Valley Democrat or a Southern California Democrat has to put up a vote on these regulations that are crippling their constituents and their businesses. I'll bet you that they're going to get a lot of phone calls, and I bet you we can win that vote. So, I mean, I think that's a great way for us to really make a dent in the regulatory regime that we have here. Another big issue, of course, is our fiscal house. We need to get it back in order, right? And no, the problem is not solved because Prop 30, the tax increase, passed. We still have a gross spending problem. Probably the most egregious one that you see out there is this bullet train that's going nowhere, right? You know, that's going to be built in the Central Valley, and I think it goes to 2 cities in the Central Valley, right? And by the time this thing is totally complete, it's supposed to cost over $100 billion. That my kids and my grandkids who are not even here yet are probably going to be paying on, right? And then by the time this thing is built, the technology will be absolutely obsolete. So we need to stop that. It's a ridiculous boondoggle. It's just for some special interest to make some money off of, and we need to stop that today. And I think we can. And more people are coming on board with us in that. We also need to address the pension liability. In California alone, I think the last study that came out that we're looking at a $330 billion pension liability associated with state and local governments. We can't possibly sustain that long term. You know, and what we're able to do in Sutter County, we alluded to it a little bit earlier, is we were able to make change. We did all the changes that you can do right now under state law. And those changes include changing the pension for new hires. It includes employees picking up more of their contribution to PERS. And those changes alone did save us money. It saved us about $5 million over a 3-year period. And then the new hires over the long term will save us about $20 million. And that's good savings, but it really doesn't solve the problem. And what we need to be able to do at the state level is have a law that will allow pensions to be changed for existing employees prospectively going forward. You can honor the pension up to this point, but going forward, we have to change that pension. We either got to make it a lower PERS formula, or you got to make it a 401k or a hybrid, because long term you can't sustain this growing pension liability. $330 billion. Stanford did a study on it, and they used a more realistic return rate on investment, and they estimated at $500 billion. So this is a problem that's not going away. We got to get it in order. More and more people are waking up to. Now is an opportunity for us to do something about it. And if I was elected to the Assembly, that would be one of my priorities, is really working on this pension liability. Crime, public safety, our communities. I know you're seeing it here in Chico. You know, I've been talking to Sean about it, and I know he's working very hard on your behalf at the city council level to try and make sure that our communities are safe. One of the biggest problems that we're facing is because of state policy. Just a couple years ago, the legislature passed public safety realignment. And that's a big word to say, we're sending 40,000 felons to your local communities. Here you go, right? It was not very well thought out. There wasn't a real plan. I mean, they just sort of said, hey, well, which is something that we at the local level always say, we say, hey, we can do things more efficiently. You know, if you just allow us to have flexibility here at the local level and don't give us all these mandates. We say that all the time. Well, the state said, well, hey, you guys can do things more flexibly. Take these 40,000 felons and make sure that they're rehabilitated and make sure that they're not out on the streets. Well, here's the problem. We don't have capacity in a lot of our local jails to hold all these individuals. And the other part is that they're telling you that, hey, these are all non-violent, non-sexual, you know, people. They're not the dangerous criminals. Well, that may be the case on their last conviction, but their rap sheet if you look at their rap sheet, there's a lot of violent stuff on some of these people's history, right? And so those are the people that we're getting here locally, and our sheriffs and our judges, our probation departments, trying to figure out how do we deal with this. Well, we have to really reform this problem. And the first thing needs to be done is that anybody that has a dangerous rap sheet, our local sheriffs should have the ability to send that person back to state prison. There are some people, and our local law enforcement knows it, that are just not going to be rehabilitated. They are not safe to be in society, and they're committing crimes on our families and our businesses, and we need to make sure that they're separated. And just a couple stories there. We've seen down in Stockton, there was a gentleman who was an AB 109er. He had violated probation 27 straight times. And last time he got released out, he ended up murdering his mother. And here's someone that should be in state prison and had a violent history, should be in state prison, and because of this policy was allowed out. 27 times this guy was released. And a big part of it is there's no room at the end. There's no room in San Joaquin. They're one of the counties where there is no room in the jail. So your judges and your sheriff are having to make the decision, well, who do we release? All these guys, have problems. I will say that your local Butte County Sheriff, Jerry Smith, has a very innovative program that he's implemented there with a day reporting center. And he is making sure that those dangerous people are in the jail or they're in state prison. One thing they'll be able to do is they have a bracelet program that they're running themselves. And if anybody with a bracelet takes it off or is somewhere where they shouldn't be, they treat it as a prison break. And that person is sent back to state prison. And then they're doing things with this day reporting center that is actually a very good thing, because I can't remember the exact numbers, and I'm probably going to botch them, but it's somewhere around $15 a day to do this, as opposed to $55 a day to incarcerate them and put them in the jail. So it's saving the taxpayers a lot of money as well. We need to develop more of those programs that save the taxpayers money, but then give our sheriffs the flexibility to put dangerous felons back in the prison system. Water. I'm sure all of you are aware that we have a big water war that's going on right now. Southern California and the Central Valley, they're planning to build these two big peripheral tunnels. They're going to pump a lot of water down south. And in conjunction with trying to change state law, they can come after our water rights. Up here in the North State, we have senior water rights by statute. But remember, statutes can be changed by the legislature. Any day in the legislature, that can change. And they can decide, well, the public needs it more down this way or this way. We need to ward that off. And I think the two big things that we can do there right now is, one, we need to push for Sites Reservoir to be built. We need more storage in the North State. Sites Reservoir has been studied and studied and studied. I mean, God, no more studies, please. All right? We know it works. It's the best place to do storage. We need to get it built. We get that built, we take the pressure off of our North State water rights. But then at the same time, we can get constitutional protections for our water rights. If we get this more storage, we get this, greater supply of water, we don't want to play these games anymore with Southern California. We're not going to play these games about, well, maybe you could take our water. Our water needs to be protected. The water that we use for our cities, for our farms, for our businesses, it needs to be protected. So I think if you combine those two principles with everything that's going on, storage and constitutional protections, we can really do a lot to preserve our North State water and make sure that we're going to be viable into the future. Those are the things that I really want to work on. And there's so many other issues, and I'd love to, I do want to take questions from all of you. But more than anything, I just want your help and support. Like I said from the very beginning, you guys are out there doing the work day in and day out. I need your help as a Republican that's trying to make a change in this state. I can't do it on my own. I need all kinds of volunteers and people around us. Let's do the work to elect other Republicans in other districts. I mean, look, there's many around here. We've got a congressional seat that's up for grabs just south of us. Dan Logue is running for that seat against John Garamendi. We've got seats in Sacramento that could potentially be picked up. We have seats down in northern Los Angeles County that can be picked up. And working together as a party and making those phone calls, getting down to those areas, we can do it. And that's what I would love to have your help with. I'd love to have your support in this race for assembly. And I think that, you know, I have the qualities to be effective down there. You know, having grown up on a farm and understanding the importance of water in agriculture in our industry here, having been a business owner and knowing what that takes to get things done, having served on a local county board and knowing the pressures that we all feel at the local level, and all those things, you know, raising a family, you know, and knowing what, and looking and wanting the best for that next generation. My family's lived in the North State for 6 generations now. I'm the 6th generation. I'm raising the 7th. I want them to be able to experience the great California that we all knew growing up, and that is going away unless we do something about it. So I'd love to have your support in that. I need your help, and we're going to do it together. So with that, I'll turn it over to questions, but thank you for having me today.
We're getting a microphone around.
Make sure it's
I
on.
have a big mouth.
Me too.
Thank you very much. I really like what you said. I have, it's a two-part question. The San Joaquin commuter, which I rode 12 and a half years ago when we lived in Tucson, I came up here to see a grandchild just hours after she was born. It made the trip from Bakersfield to Antioch in less time than my husband and I can drive it. And that would have been making maybe 1 pit stop. So is it still there?
I don't know.
Anybody in the room? Okay. Anyway, it ran numerous times a day. The other thing is, on the bullet train, which is the train to nowhere, it would be running similar, because we'd have to occasionally stop in a couple of those towns, same towns. It's redundant. And the last I read, it was going to start this month, the construction, and/or next month. Is that still going to be started? In other words, they're going to put the shovel full out, or dig the first hole, or whatever. And can we still stop it?
Well, the answer to the first couple questions, I mean, there are several problems with this train, right? One is what we talked about. It will be obsolete. The technology would be obsolete by the time it's built, okay? The other thing is that you mentioned, they are now approving these stops. They're going to make it so that it doesn't give you that time efficiency that it was sold on in the first place. If you have all these stops, you're just not going to be able to get to those speeds to be able to get, you know, from Northern California to Southern California. And plus, the whole thing has been really, you know, I think it's San Francisco to LA. Well, that's not really helping us out a whole lot up here in the North State, right? You know, might as well fly. Can we stop it? I think we can, and we got to attack the funding sources. A big funding source is the federal government, because they're relying on federal matching funds. And Congressman Doug LaMalfa has been very vocal, and I think he actually was able to stop some of the matching funds from the federal government that were coming to help support this bullet train. Jerry Brown, they did go forward and issue bonds, the first bonds to build it. And I'm not sure when the actual construction is supposed to start, but the way to stop it is to attack the funding. And if we can attack it at the federal level, because that's where they're relying on a lot of their money, I think we can stop it. And we need to continue to raise this at the state level. Hey, look, why are we spending billions and billions of dollars here that our grandchildren are going to have to pay back, when we could be spending that on real infrastructure, dams, Sites Reservoir, water infrastructure, our roads and bridges that are out of date. You know, why aren't we spending money today on real things that actually improve the economy and the way of life for us here in our state?
Just a quick question on the train. I heard that if the train doesn't go through in the state of California, we won't get federal funds for roads. Is there any connection there? Was that just junk I was hearing, or is there any truth to it?
I don't know the total answer to that. I know that we see in a lot of local government, there are a lot of times ties to federal money. You know, the feds will say, well, we'll give you this money, but you got to implement this, this, and this, you know. And usually it's through the Council of Governments, the COGS, throughout the state. That's how a lot of transportation money is doled out. Butte County has its own COG. You know, we're part of what's called the Sacramento Area Council of Governments, SACOG. And what happens is that money goes there, and then they say, well, we got to do all these programs and all these other things. And the federal money is tied to things like, you know, air resource regulations, right? How much you're putting out of the air. They want you to do, you know, emission reductions and things like that. So it wouldn't surprise me if there was something there, but I'm not aware of that specific provision tied to the high-speed rail. What I've heard is that there's federal money that was set aside for for development of high-speed rail, and there was projects in Florida and California. And my understanding is that money has been either stopped or severely reduced at the federal level, which puts California in a precarious position on that project.
Yes, I'm Barbara Maggi, past president, and just a comment, in today's Sacramento Bee is an excellent article on the train to nowhere and with addresses of who to write to object to it.
Great, check that out.
When you talk about water rights, where is the dividing line between North State and South State?
I don't know if there's a physical dividing line, but in the North State, generally we have senior water rights. We've established the right to that water earlier in time than those to the south of us.
No, but I mean, is the dividing line the Tehachapi, so that Central Valley is in the North Valley, is in the North State?
Well, we have senior water rights up here, even to some of the ones in the central, to a lot of people in the Central Valley. They have what's called junior water rights to us. They have rights to water, but we have the right to use that water first up here. And then that water continues down, and then those in the Central Valley have the right to divert water that they have a right to. And then Southern California has their water right that goes down to them right now. Well, what happens now is a lot of water can't get out of the delta because you have to meet environmental concerns in the delta, right? And so the Central Valley and Southern California get shortchanged on the water that they expect, I guess you could say. And their answer to that is, well, hey, we just need more water, and where are they going to get it from?
Well, do
They're
you
going to look
think
to
that
us.
the tunnels are a good idea?
I think the tunnels are a bad idea because it will make it very easy for them to, the whole idea for the tunnels is they're putting the tunnels up above the delta so they can suck that water straight out before it even gets into the delta. They get around the environmental problem. But what that is just a double-barrel shotgun pointed right at our water. And if they can change the rules on how water is allocated, which they have the majority votes to do right now, then they can say, hey, well, you know, Chico shouldn't be diverting so much water up here, and all these farmers up here shouldn't be diverting. They don't need that water up there, and they can stop us from diverting and send it right down and get around the delta by sending it through the tunnels. So that makes it easier for them to do what we definitely don't want them to do. All right, and that's why the tunnels need to be stopped. And instead, we should say, hey, look, if you need more water, let's build more storage. We haven't built a dam in the state, I believe, since Orbo. And so we need another dam. We need more storage. We've got so many more people in the state, and we have the ability to collect that water. Let's collect it, and then we can supply it. And then at the same time, look, we're not going to be messing around with our water rights anymore. Give us constitutional protections. So that we know that we're viable into the future in the North State. I think that's a fair deal for everyone.
James, over here.
Sorry.
At the beginning of your talk, and somewhere in the middle, you were mentioning general topics regarding land use and water rights and so on. And I believe a lot of the problems we're currently having are a result of Agenda 21. And are you familiar with what Agenda 21 is?
Yes.
And, okay. Would you agree with my assessment? Because this should not be happening in our country. Yes, yet it is. I believe it's a global movement, and it's dangerous. It's scary.
Where I think it manifests itself in California is AB 32 and SB 375. AB 32 is the greenhouse gas reduction legislation, and all this bill said was we need to reduce greenhouse gas levels by 2030, and we authorize the California Air Resources Board to do whatever is necessary to get there, right? That's all that legislation did. It delegated all the power to a regulatory body, and now they're using that to enforce all these regulations on emissions. That's why all these diesel engines are having to be taken out, and why the trucks are having to be taken off the roads. And then combined with that is SB 375 that says, oh, when you do your planning, you got to plan, communities in a certain way, right? And basically what that is what you would refer to as stack and pack type housing. Well, hey, nobody should be living out in the country. This philosophy of no one should be living out in the country. Everybody should be living in the city, in the urban areas. And that's what we're back. That's where it manifests itself at the state, and that's where we got to make changes. So we got to roll back the AB 32 regulations. We got to roll back this SB 375 policy. And and look at us in the North State. We have been, wise with our resources. We have kept our growth around our existing urban centers, and agriculture is a vibrant part of our industry. And in order to have a vibrant agriculture industry, guess what? People have to live out on the farm. We have to be close to our infrastructure. And the other place that we're seeing it is FEMA, with this floodplain regulations that are coming out and people are getting remapped. I think that's also focused on it's an attack on rural America. Because people out in those areas will no longer be able to build, it won't be possible, or it'll be economically impossible. And then the insurance rates will be so high that people will say, well, I'll have to move into the urban areas. So yes, I think we need to be very vocal and adamant on that and try and roll back those things to protect our agriculture industry and our rural communities.
Thank you. Because our president has to leave right now, just want to announce that most of you have gotten a signed card for her. We just want to wish her a happy birthday today.
Shall we sing happy birthday? I think we got to sing happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Sue. Happy birthday to you.
Two more questions.
Thank you. I just wondered, is there a way to invalidate the original vote on the bullet train because what was stated in that proposition is not being fulfilled and it's so far away from what we were promised?
I think that's a good idea. I think that's a really good idea. Because when it was initially promoted, I can't remember the exact number, but it's gone way beyond, I think it was 40 billion was in the original bond. And now everybody's saying it's going to cost over 100 billion. And so I think that is actually a very good idea and something that we should try to explore is, hey, that's not what the people voted on, and now it needs to go back to a vote of the people. And again, if people have to vote on this, again, they're probably going to say no, right? Because who wants to put that much debt for something that's not giving us much benefit? So, yeah, I think we should look into that.
How can you enforce that?
I have a question, it's probably stupid, but I'm wondering if this has to do with the railroad going from here to Sacramento. Is that part of what we're really talking about in here?
No, because the bullet train is more focused on a line from, originally they said it would be from Sacramento to Los Angeles. And now they've scaled it down. They're saying no, it'll be San Francisco to Los Angeles. So I don't think it ever included these rail lines up here. So no, it's not part of it.
Well, I'm just trying to be simple about it. If I
Yeah.
go downtown in Chico and I want to get on a train and go down to Sacramento. So
Yeah.
is that where we're at there on that?
No, it's not part of the plan.
Okay, good.
So it
I'm happy
wouldn't, it
because I
wouldn't
like
connect
it.
us, yeah. Well, and thank you for allowing me to be here today. I do have some stuff I think got passed out to you, and there's some stuff back on the table. In this race, it takes a lot of help and support. If you'd be willing to endorse me, if you'd be willing to help me in walking precincts or anything, I'd love to have your support. So take a look at that, and if you believe that I'm the right person for this job, please sign that up, and I'll be standing back here. I can put it in my little box back there, or you can mail it to me. There's a little mailing address on there as well. So thank you.
With a name like Gallagher, you gotta be right.
Okay, before anybody gets to leave, or nobody's allowed to leave until we select 3 people